Hello everyone. Today we're diving deep into base building in Dune Awakening, with a focus on smart storage, logistics, and long-term efficiency. Whether you're running a solo build or building a giant guild fortress, what you do now is going to affect everything you do later. So let's break it down. My first rule of thumb for you is to always build your rooms at least 2 wall lengths high. This is because almost every one of the advanced buildings in the game is going to require at least some height moderation. Currently, it's mainly just the medium spice refinery and the large ore maker. But I will tell you, it gets a bit cramped when you don't do this. And so aesthetically, it is actually kind of nice to have the 2 tiles. It also allows you to build competing areas for storage up high. And it is a nice way just in general to organize things. So there are 4 storage containers that we know of in the game so far. The small storage container, which uses scrap, the chest, which uses iron, the storage container here that uses aluminum, and the medium storage container that uses plastinium, and just a smidge of spice melange. Now, late game, the aluminum storage is going to be your jam. It can house up to 1,750 weight with up to 45 items. It is awesome. Once you get bigger into the game, you'll be able to get medium storage, which has a max of 100 and a volume of 3,500. Now, I will say it is probably smarter to just do storage containers when you look at volume alone, because 1,750 and then 3,500, you're actually getting more out of these containers, but you are limited by how many containers you can have in a base, and you can just expand your claim to get more. I actually have not had an issue with containers once I got to the aluminum stage. So this is a cool little design that you can use, and I'll go over circuits too. So the circuits on this are 1 and 1. So currently what I do is I have this side for where the buggy pulls in is a spot I drop all of the raw ore or salvage metal. Anything I'm getting out there with my buggy, I'm throwing in here on this side. Now, a real quick tip, when you pull in with your buggy after doing a run, you can quickly just go up to the storage itself, click up here, select from many vehicles, so you can land your assault ornithopter and do this, any vehicle, and you can move things straight into that chest. This is also useful if you're trying to move a large volume of goods out of one chest into another. Throw them in the buggy from that storage, then go to the storage chest you're trying to move it to, and do that. You can do this to sort through massive amounts of inventory. But on this side, we are doing all of the ingots and all of the long-term storage. So aluminum ingots, all going on here. So you can see in the top left hand, I have selected circuit 7 and circuit 1 as output. This is important. Anything in output means it can be pulled into machines. That's the crafting stations upstairs. But the input circuit determines what boxes items can be put in through from your crafting stations. And all of these right here are circuit 7, and all of these will be filled by anything with an output of circuit 7. So over here in my storage, you can see the output is circuit 7 with the input being circuit 1. So it can pull from anything that has a circuit 1 output. So what you want to do is fill the storage container here. So up here in this screen, go to the storage portion, do a split stack of darts. I've seen people use money. I don't know why. I use heavy dart. It's all, apples and oranges. Use whatever you want. And then you can just split stack it. So once this is full, it means any crafted item is automatically going to storage. So I don't have to worry about coming in here and pulling things out ever. So anything I craft is just automatically going to be thrown into circuit 7. I'm doing the same thing with my medium chem stations over here. These are set up to circuit 8, and all of the storage containers around here are circuit 8. So basically you just have a raw resource dump, flour sand, all that stuff, and then you have individualized, specialized storage outputs for the things that you're doing. So if I want to make fuel cells, I know I just have to search the chest around here for that output. Now the storage that I'm using is just a half wall with a rounded side, 2 normal pieces, and another rounded wall. This is going to allow me to kind of flay out a bunch of things. So if I want to, do a bunch of storage containers like so, I can. And it just makes it easier to run around. I found that the giant table version of this is just a tad bit difficult to run around. So you can basically use whatever you have available here to kind of flay this about. And that gives you just a little bit more storage. So you have all this storage up here. Now I will note, you want to make sure that these things are touching the edge exactly, or it does cause issues. But this is just a fun way to kind of organize your boxes. Now you could do a square and it's going to be a lot more space efficient, but if you want to add a little bit of flair and efficiency, I do kind of like the round table. So now you can see I can just walk up, access all of these gents, and we're good to go. You might have issues with boxes. Sometimes you have to place the top first and then put the boxes in. So just to let you know, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like when done that way. So you don't have to do a complete circle on everything, right? So I'm going to build an extra box here, and we'll put this guy over here. That also gives me more room to add additional large boxes, so you can add 3. I rounded this side simply because it's a place that people are running around a lot, so I kind of liked it. But those are just, you know, some of the tips and tricks I can give you. The square definitely utilizes space better, but like look how much space that has. You can put one here, one here, one here, one here, one facing out this way. And so you can get all of your storage into a giant square at the center that's a lot easier to navigate for you. So that's circuitry, that's storage in a nutshell. So now we're going to talk about water logistics and the deathstills. These are all advanced deathstills, and let me explain to you why I have advanced deathstills and why I don't really use passive water collection whatsoever. Now your basic Fremen deathstill requires 200 power and yields 25,000 water per body. It just takes steel, silicone, and complex machinery. The advanced Fremen deathstill, on the other hand, costs 350 power and yields 45,000 water, a bit of a silicone block adjustment. Duraluminum ingots are very easy to get if you watch some of the other guides I've made, and a bit more complex machinery. We're going through around 35-40 bodies a day, so I upgraded everything to Fremen deathstills because the water demands of the high-grade ingots is substantial, especially things like spice. So duraluminum ingots are 375 water per, but plastinium ingots are actually more than this. They're about 1200. We still have the 25% crafting bonus on right now. So you're talking about 1,000 water per plastinium ingot. You're going to need insane amounts of water. So essentially with the advanced deathstill, you're getting 20,000 more water per corpse, which is a huge labor savings. We're going out with ships and storage and bringing back 20 bodies at a time. In general, you're getting about an 80% increase in water per body with the advanced deathstill, and I think you're actually getting 3 water more per power use with the advanced deathstill. So you might be saying, well, couldn't I just use 2 deathstills and get 50,000? You know, I'm only using 50 more power. But you're bringing in, you have to do twice the amount of bodies to do that. The advanced deathstill is a huge time saver. The next biggest tip I'm going to give you is upgrade. If you can, do it. The large ore refinery is massive. Let's go over everything between the medium and large ore refinery looking at the wiki. All right, so the large ore refinery is just massively more efficient. The big cost here really is the spice melange of 400. I have a guide on how you can get spice. We got this spice in about one day, one evening with 4 people. So it is possible to get, and it is a massive time saver. You can see right over here, the medium ore refinery uses 7 aluminum per 1 ingot. This uses 4. The time is also massively reduced from 30 seconds to 20 seconds processing time. Water does not go down whatsoever. It uses 1 less copper ingot. It uses 1 less jasmine crystal per duraluminum ingot. It uses 1 less iron ore per iron ingot. And it uses 2 less titanium per plastinium ingot. And that is a big deal because titanium is very heavy and you can bring back very limited quantities from the deep desert. This will reduce your trips to the deep desert by 1/3 for titanium to produce the same amount of ingot. The plastone cost goes down to 175, not really a big deal. Steel goes down from 3 carbon to 2 carbon. The time saving is the big kicker. Duraluminum goes from 5 seconds to 4 seconds. I mean, you can see all the times iron ingots are faster, plastinium is 10 seconds faster, plastone is 5 seconds, steel is 3 seconds. So it reduces the cost and the time, and it has been a lifesaver. We're producing more aluminum now than ever. I mean, the aluminum reduction is pretty substantial from 7 to 4. So a lot of things to be excited about here. All of the advantages you get with a medium chemical refinery versus the small. Everything decreases substantially, almost by 33 to 50%. Cobalt paste costs 33% less, from 3 to 2 crystals. Industrial grade lubricants, go down by 2 fuel cells, and you can craft them in 30 seconds. All the times go down, everything. Low-grade lubricants go down by 1 fuel cell. Medium-sized fuel cells are now 40 instead of 45. The big one is silicone blocks. Silicone is used in almost freaking everything late game, and you need so much of it. So going from 5 to 3 flour sand per silicone block, and the decrease in crafting time is massive. You also need it for strabium and all those things. Getting a medium chemical refinery is one of the best things you can do for yourself as soon as possible, simply for the mass production of silicone itself. And now let's talk about the Walmart-based concept. A hyper-centralized base where everything is near everything, it's less pretty, but guess what? It's extremely efficient. The real enemy in this game is time. It is a grind game. Running 100 meters to find a tool 10 times a day, or a resource 10 times a day, that adds up over the weeks. You have 15 people doing that. You're talking about hours of lost productivity in your guild. I'm going back to the old school, form follows function, which means that the design of something, its form, should primarily be based on the purpose or intended use of that function. This will lead to the most efficient base designs possible. Now, some really easy ways to make your square base look nice is just symmetry and looking at the designs and putting bunches of triangles and shapes. Just play with the shapes. You know, I took 2 ramps, put it together, boom, I got myself a triangle. You got a freaky door that scares you at night? Put that on the side of your building and put some freaking antlers on it, or horns, or whatever the heck that is. The key concept is you can take a square base and you can morph it into something that looks slightly okay to look at. One key thing I will say is there's an enormous amount of pieces in the game, right? And it's really easy to understand what's going on if you just look at them. So half ramp corner goes with the half ramp. Ramp inwards corner and ramp corner, those go with the ramp. So if you're trying to use a half ramp corner on a ramp, it's gonna look like crap. So that's it. Just look at the names. If it says half or if it doesn't say half, those are the sets you build it with. It's actually really, really easy. The same thing with your roofing pieces and your round inward rooftops. So play around with the pieces, put things in interesting zones. Like you can accent things in a pretty sweet way. So if you have a boring bottom like this and you want to make it a little more interesting, I would probably say use the half ramp, right? And then you can half ramp it like this just to give it a little bit more flair, right? That gives it just a little bit of flair. The trick is always these corners. How do you do these corners? Well, we are using a half ramp. So what we want is either a ramp corner, the inward ramp corner. I think what we want is a half ramp corner, right? Because we're using the half ramp. So you could have it go spiky side out like this, and that doesn't look too crazy bad. Or you could try something a little different, like using a half rounded wall that goes more naturally with that. And then using wedge wall pieces to kind of give it a spiky look. And if you're flipping sides, you're going to need to flip to the other one. So you got top left, top right. You'll need to switch if you want to have the same sides flipping out. So there we go. We got ourselves a little bit of a lip right there. And I hate it, right? I hate it. I think it looks terrible, actually, now that I've seen it. And that is building in a nutshell. Just experiment. You know, there is no one size fits all kind of thing. Like, build something you think looks cool. Look at it. If you hate it, go back and do it again. The tall ramp corner and tall ramp are 2 of my favorites to use. You can make some really awesome things. You can also use half walls like that over there and the circle walls to make pillars. You can use your imagination to do quite a bit in this game. You can even just use half walls. The half walls actually look pretty darn cool. I already have a full episode on how square bases are pretty much optimal, but that is one way that you can make a walkway look kind of decent and not look like, you know, it's just a 2x4 sticking out 30 feet. And there we go. Now that looks kind of cool. So let's talk about landing pads, shields, and energy planning. Now keep in mind, every tile of a pentashield requires 3 energy, right? So if you make a 9x9 pentashield, which I've seen, that is an insane amount of energy. That is 81 tiles at 3 energy, 243 energy. So when you're doing those things, just make sure that's honestly what you want. Keep in mind, 3 energy per. So be modest, be smart, be tactical about it. So on the top, we have a nice one. Over here, I made a small one. So instead of having entire walls of pentashields, I just have nice 3x3 entry points. Over here, I had to spend a bit more. It's easier to land this ship going this way from a cost-effective standpoint, rather than having a giant pentashield that costs 300 energy. So those are some of my advices to you, is take into consideration the cost of the pentashields. They are substantial. You can see we have a lot of assault ornies that we're getting in here, so we definitely needed the large storage area. I have an area over here. My next piece of advice is to make sure that you have one staircase that leads pretty much everywhere and does not make your base a freaking house of mirrors, okay? I can run from one point to the next just on one staircase, just like that. I can go right from the hangar bay up there and the hangar bay right here, right into the downstairs industry area and right into the crafting area right here. I would highly advise you have all of your crafting in one area to make it easier to see. We have a drop box right here for all parts, but everything else is organized by type. All of the advanced garment factory stuff is here. We have a recycler in the corner. All of the advanced survival fabricator is here. Everything you see in storage is going to be related to survival fabricator part. Right now, we're waiting on them to finally implement the color-coded system for boxes. I would love signs, repair station here. And over here is the weapon fabricator advanced and normal. And all of these containers are categorized by weapon loadouts. So weapons, armor, shields, suspensor belts, and I think healing right here. So everything you need for questing, all right here next to where we make our weapons. In the corner here, we have ammunition, blood, and leader johns. And we have a nice little dedicated water area right here where we have more leader johns, dew reapers, all that jazz. So those are like my building tips and tricks to make your base more effective. Like I said, the less time you spend running around is the more time you're being productive. It's just honestly the way it is. Get the advanced cut arrays as fast as possible. We have a cut array Mark 6 and I'm getting like 250 aluminum per snap. I have Mark 5 cut arrays on everything. You can get Mark 5 cut arrays right here in Edge of Akron, and you don't have to go into the radiation zone. If you just run this enough times, you're going to get the Adept drill shot blueprint, which is a duraluminum drill shot you see me use in my videos, one of the most powerful weapons in the game. You're also going to get a bunch of Mark 5 cut arrays and Mark 5 radiation suits to help you come into here to get more duraluminum. So get yourself a cut array Mark 5 as fast as possible. You don't even have to craft it. You can literally just farm it. I wish I knew that when I first started playing. Would have saved me a week. So those are all the great things you can do in this game. Make sure that you're upgrading as fast as possible. The medium spice refinery, as you can see, makes significantly more spice per spice melange per spice sand. So just continually update all of your stuff quickly as you possibly can, and it reduces that grind. But keep in mind that you do want to kind of scale so that your base can handle all of the storage that you need. And it is fun to kind of organize things based upon their operations. This is my vehicle fabrication room, so we keep all the ornithopter parts in here. So you can kind of have that square base efficiency without clustering every box into one place by just separating them by what the activity for that area is. As always, a big thank you to my members and Patreons and all the people who help support this channel. Everybody else, have a great rest of your day.